Welcome to the QPR Preview Show ahead of the Round 1 EFL Cup clash away at League One, Plymouth Argyle. Before that, though, we're going to be looking back at the opening day and as an injury-ravaged and depleted QPR side, got a 1-1 draw against Preston at Loftus Road on Saturday. We had a makeshift defence. We had Kieran Morgan at right back. Escadina, who a few people thought was heading back to Brazil, he was suddenly in at left back. But overall, Matthew, did you feel like it was 2 points dropped or a good draw?
I think at the time, I think it felt like 2 points dropped. I thought the first half we had control for most parts in that first half, and I thought when we got the goal, even though it was an own goal, I thought it was well deserved. And then when they equalised in the second half, the belief just drained out the team, and for most part of that second half, Preston were favourites to win it. But I thought not much quality in the game. It was almost like your typical QPR Preston clash. And probably at the end of the season, you're not going to see both of these teams at the top end of the table, really. But yeah, first half was great, but second half was sort of like what we could see a lot this season.
Yeah, I'm torn myself between thinking, were we lucky to play Preston when we were down to the bare bones? Because if we were playing a better team, we may have struggled. But on the other hand, it maybe feels like a wasted opportunity because, like you say, Preston kind of clearly one of the most limited sides we're going to play this season. So potentially it was 2 points dropped, but it's obviously going to be too early to tell. I agree with you. And I think it's been the general consensus at the first half. There was a lot to like, a lot to be positive about. We had 66% possession. We weren't really creating enough, but aside from a header that Preston had in the first few minutes, we looked in total control. But it comes down to it, we became so leggy in the second half that the goal obviously knocked confidence out of us, but we just couldn't maintain anything that we were doing well, really. I mean, Sam Field, he joked, hadn't he, in his interview before the game that we'd be exhausted after 45 minutes, but it wasn't really a joke because it's exactly how it played out. We couldn't keep up the level of intensity. We look like we're some way away from being able to put in a 90-minute performance, don't we?
Yeah, I mean, the players were dropping like flies come in the 70th, 80th minute. And yeah, Dembele went off for cramp. I think Poku had the same as well. But it's really worrying to an already slim squad as it is. Um, and looking at the lineup before the game, it's worrying to see how depleted we are. And we need some numbers in for sure in the next couple of weeks. Maybe use the loan market as well, just to give that a little bit of experience when we are so short in numbers. So that'll be a wait and see sort of project. But at the moment, yeah, it's quite worrying to the numbers that we have at the moment.
Yeah, it definitely is. I mean, a lot of players keep using the word in their interviews of aggressive to describe how Stefan wants to play, but it's going to be hard over 90 minutes because, like we keep saying, we couldn't maintain the way we wanted to play. But Poku, Dembele, Kieran Morgan, I even saw had his boots off and had some strapping on his foot. So, like you say, dropping like flies, and it's a bit of an understatement even to say that. And we'll come back to it when we try and pick a team for Plymouth shortly. But on a positive note, Escadina, I said at the start he was kind of thrown in. He hadn't even been seen in the recent pre-season games. But how did you think he did?
I thought he impressed in the first half. He overlapped a number of times, and I thought he helped out our attack with a bit of pace that we needed um, to keep that energy up in the first half. And I was quite impressed with him when we faced Brentford in the Premier League Cup final last season. And I wondered whether, he'll be given a chance this season. But I remember Christian Norrie in the fans forum was touching on the development squad players, and he said he'll throw them in. He'll the best chance for them to develop is to get them into championship action, and we might have just seen a good light of that in the first game. So yeah, I was quite impressed. I think he tired a little bit come towards the second half, but yeah, I was quite impressed with his actions.
Yeah, he was a real highlight for me, actually. He had good energy. He was snapping into tackles. He wasn't scared of the English game in that respect, was he? Driving forward. Seemed to have some good vision as well. He tried a good ball over the top for Ilias Chair. Obviously, he's raw. There were some errors, but he ticked a lot of boxes. And if that's just one game, I think he's an exciting player. And as you pointed out, Saturday we had Dunn, Clark Salter, Larkesh, Varane, Smith, Frey out of the team. Six players who are arguably all near enough first choices if they're fit. So no mean feat to cope without all of them. So let's just take the draw for now and see where we go from there next weekend against Watford. But in between, let's preview this match against Plymouth on Tuesday night. We last met in the League Cup back in 2020. It was behind closed doors, so probably not that memorable because none of us could be there. But QPR, of course, lost 3-2. But this is the 11th season now in a row that we've entered in round one. In the previous 10 years, we've only lost three. So by QPR standards, it's not a bad cup record. But I did have a look back and we've actually never beaten Plymouth in a cup game. So maybe this could be the first. As for Plymouth, they're starting life back in the third tier this season. Manager Miran Muslic, who I think a lot of us like the look of, he's gone. But him leaving seemed to catch the owners off guard a bit. I think they thought he was going to stay, but it's Tom Cleverley who's come in after leaving Watford last season. Based on the opening two games, Matthew, fair to say he's having a few teething issues there.
Yeah, it's a struggling start for him, and it's pressure as well because they're expected to go straight back up, and that's the expectation that he'll have. When Tom Cleverley was at Watford, he done okay. He won the fans, but results were very hit and miss at times. And they towards the end of the season they sort of petered out towards the end of the season. But with this job, it's a lot of pressure, and he's got to get going straight away. But so far, the signs are quite worrying. The two results they've conceded quite a few poor goals as well, and yeah, it's going to be a hard job for him this season.
Yeah, two defeats, one goal scored. They didn't have a shot on target away to Bolton on Saturday, I looked. So, and last weekend as well, Barnsley only had 10 men for half an hour, but actually extended the lead. So far from a perfect start for a new manager. And that defeat against Bolton, that would have stung for Plymouth fans on it with their former manager, Stephen Schumacher, in charge, who, of course, led them to promotion 2 years ago. But it's been a big summer of overhaul, not only a new manager, but 11 signings the last time I looked, probably just as many out. It's a lot to bed in. And do you expect some of them are going to be given a chance in this cup match to prove themselves, Matthew?
I think so, yeah. I think just to try and give themselves time to bed in. And I think Tom Cleverley himself would try and want to get a win sooner rather than later. With the league form being such a poor form at the moment, a cup might be a good distraction for him. And against the championship opposition that he maybe might have a go against, then we'll definitely wait and see. But I'm sure he'll throw more than half of his players in, I think.
Yeah, I think I remember reading last season that the average in the first round was that teams rotated 5 or 6 players. So I think that's the norm, and I think that's what we'll see probably from both teams. Was we'll come on to QPR in a minute, but you're right about Tom Cleverley. He's going to want a win desperately in front of the home fans, just try and get some momentum, get the fans behind him. We know what it's like these days in the modern game. You lose three of your first games in charge, people are going to question your appointment straight away. But I noticed they had more possession in both of the games, and they ranked fourth in the league for pass accuracy. So you can see what he's trying to instill there, but with so many players to bring in at the same time, it's just going to come down to results. And let's see what happens on Tuesday. But I feel a lot of what happens on Tuesday could come down to the team that QPR are able to play. Let's analyze that now. And if you head into home park, take your boots because you may get a game. I initially thought there'd be a lot of rotation for this game, but it's a two away game week, and will the team be staying away? But then you're caught between thinking, will we rotate the players to protect them? But then there aren't really that many players to bring in to rotate them with. So tough one for Yuli and Stefan. Firstly, though, Matthew, do you expect Paul Nardi to come in? And how did Joe Walsh do for you on Saturday?
I thought Joe Walsh, it's hard to tell. I think the crowd were on his back a couple of times in the match. And you can see what the club are doing. I think you can see Walsh as the next potential player we could possibly sell on as the club's format. Um, but I think in the game, he got lobbed for the goal. But I thought as a team we switched off for that goal, so I thought he wasn't really set. He made a few mistakes here and there, but he hasn't had much championship experience, so he needs games to get more used to that. With Paul Nardi, I can see him coming into this game. If he does, then I think you can see who's going to be the number one this season. Um, but yeah, I can see George as potential, but whether the fans have the patience for it, then we'll wait and see. It's going to be a huge test for him this season for Joe Walsh, but I reckon Paul Nardi will come into this game. Yeah.
Yeah, Walsh was shaky on Saturday. Probably understandable, really. He knows everyone's watching him, doesn't he? So maybe trying a bit too hard at times. He just needs to keep his concentration and not come across so panicky because it does make the crowd nervous. It's whether the club want Walsh to have a run of consecutive games, because what happens if Paul Nardi comes in as a stormer, keeps a clean sheet? Will that alter the plan of wanting Walsh to play? have to let us know in the comments on that one. But I think personally it could be Walsh just to avoid that scenario. So I'm maybe 51-49 thinking it could be Walsh, but tough one to judge how it will go at the back. As for the rest of the side, well, I mean, the first question I guess is who started on Saturday? Who do you think will stay in the side?
I reckon our attack will stay the same. I think we've got a format there in attack where it can stay for a couple of games. Try and keep that consistency, and I think Burrell might. He came on against Preston. He definitely changed our energy in attack. Even though it was just 10, 15 minutes, he definitely was a player that he can sort of get himself about, and he's got a bit of pace about him. And if we can start those four again with Burrell up front, then I reckon we can create a few chances on Tuesday. But in terms of who's starting, I think you could see Adamson come in. I thought he did okay against Preston. I think he could get a few more minutes. Escudini, I think he should be fit enough to play another game. Not sure about how Jimmy Dunn is in terms of fitness wise, but I think the club have made it clear not to rush players back. So I don't think you're going to see too many changes, but I wouldn't be too surprised if some development squad players can pop in. Maybe Pearson as well might come in. He's playing a few preseason games, so you could see a mixture of some of the experience and some of the youth.
Yeah, I'd expect them Benge, Field, Madsen, maybe Chair to stay in the side. At the back, Morrison, he's just someone who's had obviously injury problems last season, so you wonder whether they'll want to risk him in midweek. But if they take him out, is Cook fit to start? Is what happened to Larkesh at the weekend? We probably don't know what's happened there. So there's a few players who wonder whether they're going to want to risk them. And you just mentioned the forward line. I'm not convinced they'll play Poku or Dembele in this one because if they've come off with Knox, Poku in particular, hard to tell if that was cramp or an actual injury or not. But if they have to come out of the team, who would you bring in for the?
It's really hard to tell really because like I said earlier, our team is dropping like flies at the minute, and it's in terms of like attack. First of all, like we don't know how Paul Smith is. He's been out the last couple of last friendlies. He didn't play. He wasn't involved in the match day squad in the first game. Um, so you don't. I'm not too sure about the attack in terms of changing, but midfield, I think you need a few players in there like Field, and not sure about Varane either. He hasn't played a full 90 minutes in pre-season yet, so he may not be rushed back. I can see Cook come into the team as well. Um, he came on last 10, 15 minutes, but I think he can just to give Morrison a little bit of a rest as well. I think Mbenge, he looked absolutely knackered come the end of the Preston game. So yeah, he had to play centre back and right back. So I think he might get a little rest for the game on Tuesday. But yeah, like I said, I think it's going to be uh, some changes that he doesn't want to risk it, but he might drop in a few players just to get that experience into the team.
Yeah, I think if Poku and Dembele can't play it, maybe Vale and Benny will have to come in. About the only options I can see, maybe Emerson Sutton, but I think he's more likely to be off the bench if he's involved. And Pearman's a good shout as well, but he wasn't on the bench at the weekend, so you wonder if he's even got an injury. Akin Delaney, whatever he's called, I keep getting his name on, but from Aberdeen, he looked good in pre-season, but he's disappeared the last few games. So is he fit? We'll soon find out. I think on Tuesday night. Up front, I think it'll probably be Seller myself for 60 minutes and Bowl just for half an hour again. I think they seem to be really managing him back into the team. So if those two are fit, we'll go that way. Before our predictions, I just wanted to ask you, I know you were at the fans forum for us. I know it's nearly a fortnight ago now, but what were your takeaways from that event?
I think Nori, you can see he wants to take initiative in these forums. Um, he wants to be trying uh, add information as much as he can. He does go on quite a bit, I must say, but he wants to prove a point and he tries to be honest. But I think all fans can't say he's honest all the time. He has to keep things behind closed doors at times. But I thought it was quite informative. He was quite. I'm glad he brought in some of his staff with him as well, so we can get a touch on each role. And yeah, it was good to see the manager involved as well. We didn't see Marty at all. last time out in any of the forums. So yeah, seeing him involved and yeah, getting an update on the injury situation. Yeah, see, as soon as Ben Williams is away, we've got injuries. We're still at the same case right now, but we have to wait and see if they improve in the months to come. Now he's fully back, and yeah, if we can get more of those with those people involved, then I think fans will start to have a bit more positive outlet on the club itself instead of all the secrets and everything else behind the scenes.
Yeah, I just hope they do the events a few more times through the season. The only thing I'd like to see change is the format. I think there's too many like pre-planned questions. They could have had all their answers ready beforehand. They know what's coming, and there's no back and forth. No one can challenge anything they say, which I find doesn't make them work as well as it potentially could do. But we'll see. He's very guarded. He knows he's calculated. He knows what he wants people to know and what he doesn't want them to know, etc. So it was still
Yeah,
better than last
exactly.
season's one, where he just it was all smoke and mirrors, wasn't it? But I still think there's a little bit room for improvement. But let's see if we get more than one this season, because last year obviously they promised us meetings with Marty and all sorts, and none of it transpired in the end. But let's get back to the on the pitch action then. It's your first prediction of the season, Matt. We got Plymouth. During the last two seasons when they were with us in the Championship, we never lost against them. We drew three, beat them back in January. Can we avoid defeat again here, Matt?
I reckon we will, but go for on penalties. It's gonna be one of those sticky games, probably long games as well, and Buffett will scrape through on penalties. Yeah, and like you said, we ain't beating them in the cup, so I'm going to say this is going to be the first one.
Yeah, it's one of the hardest matches of the season to predict, this first round EFL match, because of how much the team's changed. Obviously, teams are in flux. We've usually have a lot of new managers, or both teams have got new managers in this case. But I still think the round one actually should be on the Saturday before the season, before the final, instead of the final friendly, and it gives teams a week off after it. They may take it more seriously. I think it'd be a midweek after the first game, when teams are still doing loads of transfers. It just seems to devalue it to me. And as it is, I still think we're going to have to play some first teamers in the game. I'm going for 1-1, and then hopefully we can nick it on penalties. It would be good to see a penalty shoot, actually. It would actually make it an exciting game at the very least. That's it. Let us know what you expect Julian Stefan to play as his team. Is it really anyone's guess? Probably in this one. And of course, let us know your predictions as well. I'll be back later in the week to look ahead to the first away league game of the season as we travel to Watford. Let's hope we're still in the cup and we have some players back by then. And until that, come on, you R's.